Welcome to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast, where we interview the best and the brightest business and real estate leaders. Our mission is to inspire and help 1,000 entrepreneurs to start and succeed in real estate and entrepreneurship. We will give you the exact playbook to succeed in your business through the experience of those who blaze the path. We're bringing the what's working today directly to you. Let's get started. Welcome back. I've got the coolest guest today. He is an OG in the real estate space and the coaching space. He's impacted thousands, if not tens of thousands, investors. His name is Tom Krol, and he is an entrepreneur that was the Wholesaling Inc. guy. If you've ever heard of Wholesaling Inc., who hasn't, turned into the Coaching Inc. guy. I call him personally the coach's coach because he coaches the coaches these days, but he's just full of wisdom. Like I genuinely enjoy following him across all the social media platforms. Always just kind of watching what he's doing because he's full of wisdom. Tom, I'm so grateful to have you on here today, man.
Adam, it's good, brother. Thank you for that introduction, brother. I love it. Very, very cool. I'm honored to be on this show. So it's we're gonna have a great adventure.
Yeah, it's seriously amazing. So I'm a real estate investor. You're a real estate investor. You're a coach. I'm a coach. Let's talk about those two worlds and how they collide and how you're impacting people. But if you could give us like the 2-minute Tom Krol story for, gosh, maybe people who've been living under a rock and don't know it. Oh, and just a side note before you do that, Tom, I am still very active in real estate and I pull and market to the Tom Krol list. I don't know if you know what that list is.
Oh, that's
super secret.
I just heard that the other day. Someone told me, well, I pulled the Tom Krol list and I said, I can't believe that. I said, I need to get residuals on that list. I'm so glad. It's apparently it's very popular. Well, that's good to hear. Well, good. God bless you. I hope you make $1 million on it. But yes, I just heard that recently about maybe it was a week or two ago, and we were reviewing results, and I said, "Oh man, that's so funny." So yeah, that's good to hear. But very cool.
Cool. Yeah, it is cool. And, I love the real estate game. So just for folks like who maybe don't know your whole story and maybe they just know you now where you're providing all this like really impactful stuff to people who are maybe in the information marketing or coaching space. But where did you start? And like, talk to me a little bit about the early journey up to Wholesaling Inc. and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the deal, right? I have the same origin story as everyone else, right? I was in the gutter and then I was able to get out of it. It's funny because now when I have conversations with people, one thing I always encourage people with is this, and it's true. It was true for me and it's true for so many others. I think that rock bottom is the strongest of foundations because you just got nothing left to lose, right? You've just got there's no ego. You can, all those, skepticism and cynical viewpoints and ego feeding stuff that we all do about what we think, when you can just be broken down and then you have the right people to raise you up. And thank God at that time I did. That's exactly. So my origin story in 20 seconds is fired from every job I ever had until I was about, 30 or so. And I'm getting old now. I'm 45. You introduced me as an OG. So now I'm like, I used to come into this space. I was like, and now I'm like the old guys. But, what I would say is, I couldn't keep a job. I was in sales. I was horrible at sales. And one day I came home. I had gotten fired from another job. Julie's in the bathroom. I hear her crying in the bathroom. She's not sure if she should pay the mortgage or buy groceries. We knew the house that I live in. We knew the owners, right? We didn't have enough. And I called my older brother and I said, that's it. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. And he introduced me to wholesaling, which was my first step into being a business owner. Essentially, that's not 100% true. I had tried other things before, but that was my first okay, we're going to make this happen or I'm going to die trying. And I did my first deal. I made $2,000, made every mistake in the book, same story as everybody else, right? I did my first deal. I had no idea at all what I was doing. And then from there, I just fell in love with it. And then I just started coaching it. And then what I love about the transition, real estate, great investment, right? So if you have money, it's great to be in real estate, right? All these tax benefits and equity and cash flow and all that. Also great job, right? High paying job. If you are like, hey, I need cash now, you can do a deal and you can learn the real estate though, when it comes to wholesaling, sub-2 rehabbing, not really so much a business, right? So with coaching is more of a business. So then once I learned coaching, then I said, oh man, now I love, my friend Dave Falk was really the one who finally put me over the fence on this, but that was really the biggest catalyst of, okay, now that I'm coaching is a business. And once you have a business, you can sell door hinges, houses, lamps, victory bells. It doesn't really matter, right? So I love it. It's a great adventure. And, I did it by following some rules, and it's really pretty straightforward. I always tell even my clients now, I'm like, I don't know why anybody pays me. These rules are old. They're ancient, right? They're simple. Like you and I were just saying a moment ago when we started this, they're very old. And I think that, the old books really review them and go through them. And I love that stuff. So that's really what I base my whole life on, essentially, is even outside of business, just family, life, all of it. Fitness is my next great journey. I'm going to be starting working on that soon, but right after lunch, not today. Not right now.
The best time to start your fitness journey is now, Tom. You can get some squats in while you're doing the podcast.
I do have a standing desk. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, brother. Same origin story as most real estate investors, right? Started from nothing, was totally broke, and then I just came up from there.
I love how, this is like a double-edged sword. I got a couple things I want to talk to you about just based on that a little bit, but this is like a double-edged sword because like real estate investing, particularly the active side, flipping and wholesaling, is almost like a gateway to business.
Right.
And I think you and I both do know some real estate investors who have built it as a business, but that's like few and far between, where they have a full infrastructure, COO in place, and they become almost like a corporate organization. But by and large, they are investors more so than business owners, and they're creating active income. But it's this gateway to other businesses. You kind of learn through this really challenging business fundamentals, cash flow, P&Ls, building a team, leading a team, those kind of things. And then you parlay that a lot of folks into coaching. And the coaching space kind of, I don't know if you would agree with this, but over the past probably 5 or 6 years with the proliferation of technology has become very crowded. There's a lot of people in there, and anybody can pick up a mic. Anybody can set up a Go High level account and have a course and have a platform to do coaching. Is the coaching space crowded today?
Definitely not. It's funny. I think we see, right? It's the old adage, right? If you go out and buy a Volkswagen Bug today, you're going to see him. This happened to me, right? We bought a car. Whatever that new Ford is. I don't remember. What is the name of Bronco. Sorry.
Oh, the Bronco. Cool.
Never saw it, right? Now it's like every single car on the road is a Bronco, right? Like I park next to Broncos. I think that, comparatively I don't want to get stuck on a number here, but if you said, Tom, legitimate coaches, people who are like, let's just say, for instance, if we just carve out just the real estate space, maybe 300 people, right? 150 that are somewhat known, and then maybe another 150 who are kind of lesser known. I think it's relative as far as people making any kind of really big impact. I think it's relatively small. I think real estate is more crowded. I think that it seems big because, like you said, they can grab a mic and they're loud. But the thing, and this is where I'm going to get some kickback, which I always do, but hey, I'm 45. I don't really care anymore. I'm used to kickback. I don't care how anybody listening to this podcast runs their life and runs their household, right? It's none of my business. But let me just tell you guys this. For me and my household, right? Myself, my wife, my children, and this is part of our generational wealth plan and my personal experience, we are only going to take feedback, instruction from people who have personal experience. So in our household, the way we run it, right? I've got 88 rules in business. Rule number 5, it's in one of the top 10, is we take feedback from 5 people, the people who love us, pay us, we pay, regulate our industry, and are already where we want to be. If you ain't on that list, I will thank you very much for your time and walk right away from you. And I think that there's this thing in coaching where people very often they'll use this sports analogy and they'll say, well, and they'll name this famous, I don't know anything about sports, by the way. Gardening, I could talk about all day, right?
I'm a big sports guy. I can help you out here.
Okay. So here's the typical thing, right? Well, I can coach something I never did myself personally because famous coached famous athlete to win this famous championship, and famous coach never played this game. And that's kind of the analogy or metaphor that they'll usually refer to. I'm not a judge of anybody, right? Everyone can do their own thing. Me, my wife, my children, that's not going to fly. So if you sell door hinges for a living and I want to open a door hinge factory or start selling them, I'll hang on every word and I'll be meticulous and I'll outwork everyone and I'll do everything you tell me to do. But if you made your money in door hinges and you're going to tell me about making them in hourglasses, right? If you're going to say, it's similar to an hourglass. No, I'm not. I'll thank you for your time. And I think that's really the problem, is that one of the big divisions I see between successful people and wealthy people and people who, struggle, is that people who are struggling, they'll basically, that feedback, they sometimes will do it because they're people pleasers, sometimes because they're just being polite, sometimes because they don't realize the impact, but they are open and receptive to feedback from everyone. It doesn't matter. No strangers, no success, people who don't add a lot of value to other people. They're just completely open. Like, hey, I'll take feedback from everyone. So it's a little controversial, but if that's the most controversial.
No, I think it's great. And it actually lends itself to questions on both sides of the coin. So you have the potential coaching client and then you have the potential coach, right?
Right.
So according to your rules, the potential coaching client should look at coaching. First off, it's very clear you believe in coaching. I also believe in coaching. I personally have paid multiple six figures for many coaches in my life, and they have all propelled me significantly forward way faster than I could have ever done by myself. Like, that's just fact. I can prove it. And I still, I have plenty of mentors and all that stuff, and I'll pay for their time because their time is valuable and they've earned it because they've done what I want to do.
Bam. But
you have these people who want to get coaching, but because of kind of the previous statement of, hey, it is a little noisy out there. Not that it's saturated, to your point, because maybe there are only 200 or 300 coaches total, say, in the real estate space, but it's hard for them, the potential coaching client who wants to propel their real estate business, as an example, to find out who's real and who's not real.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend that? Like, if somebody's like, hey, I want to vet a coaching program to do real estate flipping, to do real estate wholesaling, to do buy and hold, like, what should they do to follow those rules? Like, how do I know that somebody's done what I want to do, vet and validate that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I was very lucky early on that my older brother, my very first coach, because I've never had any coaching. And, of course, my older big brother, we're competitive, right? So I don't want to take any advice from Todd. And he dragged me into this kicking and screaming, right? I'm in a small market. He's in a big market in California. I'm in a small market in Florida. So I'm saying, this is never going to work, right? First of all, you live in a big market. All your houses are expensive and there's millions of houses. Where I live, it's a small market. Like, there's less houses and they're less expensive, and, right? Excuse. I was really fortunate to have him. And then one of the things that made Todd really unique is I would go to meetings and he would tell me beforehand, this is in the early days, this is over 10 years ago. And he would say, hey, listen, when you get to Collective Genius, right, pay attention to this guy, right? Make sure that you listen when Trevor Mock is speaking, or when Rob Swanson is speaking, or when Michael Jake or Joe, oh my goodness, what's his name? I can't think of it now. But, when Jason Medley's saying something, or Frank Cava, and he would go through like, hey, when this guy or this girl is speaking, pay attention, be quiet, take notes, and do what they say to do. But one of the, it's funny because, like I said, I have 88 rules in business that I follow to a T. And rule number 2, which fights for rule number 1 all the time, is everyone's full of what. And yep. I think that one of the ways that you can become a little bit, maybe, I don't know, it's a sixth sense or clairvoyant or maybe prophetic about this, is that when you practice brutal honesty, when you become like a truth teller and a truth seeker, right? sometimes you don't get caught up in the whirlwind, right, of somebody else who is making a lot of promises and a lot of claims. And just through some simple questions and through just like a simple conversation like this, I would argue that you kind of get like a sixth sense about this. I guess is the best way I can explain it. I have a very good detector now of BS. And it's not because I'm like any good person. I mess up I messed up 3 times this morning. Believe me, I have no doubt about that, right? I'm not even wearing pants right now on this podcast. So I am. But what I would say is, I think that the more, I don't want, this is not really about honesty, because that's not true or accurate. This is about, I would say, brutal honesty, right? Like when I'm with even a new client, and right, everybody who joins my coaching program, right, I'll say, well, what's your net worth? Oh, it's $7.5 million, right? Everybody. Okay. Oh, great. 7.5. Okay, great. And then as soon as I, pick apart the net worth, I'm like, oh no, you're not even, you're half of that, right? So typically new clients come in. One of the first things we do is evaluate their net worth, and almost everyone is about 50% of what they tell me. So I don't even think that they're necessarily even lying. I think that just entrepreneurs have a lot of enthusiasm, and they're so positioned positively that they're just like talking and talking and talking. They're almost like believing their own stuff. But yeah, I would say, how many people are out there faking it until they make it, or acting as if, I don't know. I have a really good, what do you call it, of it for myself, I guess. I'm good at it. I'm good at spotting it, I would say.
I think the honesty piece of that is like a really good question. Like, hey, I'll pay you $30,000 a year to coach me, but would you be willing to show me your P&L for your real estate investing business?
Yeah.
Because what doesn't lie, Tom? Numbers don't lie.
Right, brother. The HUDs don't lie. I mean, it's funny. I don't know if I ever asked for HUDs, but I do distinctly remember a lot of the people that because I'm like you, I have a coach now, I have coaches now, I had coaches then, I have coaches I always have pretty much always have multiple coaches. And even the worst coach, even the coach where I was like, man, this guy really is totally full of it. I will honestly say, even those coaches propelled me. I remember I took one coaching program, and it was completely just, underdelivered. I'll just say it at best, right? Just completely underdelivered. Okay. But even in that program, I met someone who ended up working with me for a decade, who is responsible for millions, now, no exaggeration, millions of dollars in revenue. So even my worst experience for me, myself personally, I think it's just a mindset. It's a recognition of but it's funny because I wrote a Facebook post about this morning. I wouldn't describe myself as a course junkie, right? Somebody who's just one course after another without, the things that I see of the top performers, massive imperfect action, progress, not perfection. They have 40% of the information and they implement. They go, right? So they fall down, they get back up. They attract a team that helps with implementation. A lot of good entrepreneurs are not good at executing. They're much better at ideas and then delegating. So I think there's some balance there, but I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how to really, I would personally say I've never asked for HUD statements, but I've also been recommended coaches by a lot of people. Actually, as I'm speaking with you, I don't really ever think about this question, but as I'm even talking about it with you, one thing I've noticed for myself personally is I usually never am just finding people online. I'll usually get a call from Joe McCall and he'll say, hey, you should take this guy's course. Or I'll get a call from someone else and they'll say, hey, I hired this mentor and I've had phenomenal results. So I would say part of the social proof is just my network recommending coaches, consultants, and mentors that I've hired. And that's another reason why this old adage again of your network is your net worth. It sounds silly, but it's 1000% true.
Well, yeah, because, Tom, you're obviously, you're probably one of the most connected guys, but referrals are powerful in any industry. They're the best lead you could possibly ever get. Right. And typically, if you're getting a referral from somebody you trust and built a relationship with, like a good friend or somebody you trust isn't going to refer you to something that's garbage.
Right.
So I think that's I think that is, that's and anybody can have good referrals. Like, to be fair, that's a good question to ask. Are there people in the industry that I can talk to, or in your coaching program that I can talk to? And then you could go deeper. You could ask them, who else is in the program that I should talk to? It's just like if I'm hiring somebody and I'm going to call their referral they gave me. I know the referral they gave me is the person who likes them the most, but I'm going to ask that referral, hey, who else did you guys work with? And could you share their information? Because I'm going to try to get 2 or 3 layers deeper to find somebody who's going to make, get closest to the truth. Okay, I want to go on the other side of the coin of that. So the other side of the coin of that is there's always going to be the up and comer who decides to do coaching in any industry. We're partial to real estate because that's kind of where we were born. But when is the right time? So people are out there right now thinking about, man, I'm a player, I'm an operator, and I'm having success. Should I coach? And when is the right time to start coaching? This imposter syndrome, like, have I done enough? Am I big enough? Like, should they coach, and when should they start coaching?
Yeah.
What would you tell that person?
So immediately. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I think that now there's a little nuance to this, but I started coaching immediately. I did deals. I did a lot of deals. I had a lot of success, and I coached what I knew. There's a lot of these things about imposter syndrome. Sometimes as you're coming up in business, you hear these things, right? You hear these terms that people throw around, fear of failure, right? Well, I can tell you this, right? I have coached over 5,000 people. I have met thousands of I have never, maybe on one hand, I can count people who have a fear of failure. I don't know any but entrepreneur who has a fear. People are like, they put themselves out there, they make mistakes, they feel a little silly, they sometimes get butterflies in their stomach, but nobody's like, oh my goodness, failure. What I really see is a fear of success. I think that people understand that when they put themselves out there, when they leave the herd, when they leave the school, right? Or the crash, right? Whatever group of people you want to, how you want to describe it. When you go outside of that, you're vulnerable, right? You are different. And that you will get attacked, right? You'll have fans and followers and clients and students right. But you'll also get other people who will try to go after you. We just naturally are in a group, and they don't like things outside the group. So I think that when it comes to coaching, it's another one of those things of imposter syndrome. I don't really see people with imposter syndrome. What does imposter syndrome mean? Imposter syndrome means that I am qualified to be on stage, but I feel less than. Now, does that happen? Yeah, occasionally, once in a while. But have you ever noticed how popular imposter syndrome is? Let me educate your entire audience. There's not that many people with imposter syndrome. There's just a lot of imposters. And I think if you exaggerate your results and you downplay, how hard it was to get those results, your body is just going to naturally start to fight you. And then some guru is going to say, well, you have imposter syndrome. You should just fight it and get on stage. No, you should slow down, reevaluate, and ask yourself this question. Am I full of what? Am I teaching what I have done? I can tell you, people will tell me all the time, what is the secret of a successful coaching business? The secret is revenue in first position, and the people who pay you money bust your butt to work hard to get them the result they paid you for, and teach what you actually have done and known. Now, I know, again, I'm going to get kickback for that because people are like, well, I never did this and I coach it. Fine, whatever, right? There's people who will coach you how to have that business. But when should you start a coaching business? Right away. And just coach what you know. And why? Why should you coach it? Because when you coach it, you become a master craftsman at it. Because you're getting all of the feedback and the frustrations and the wins and the losses and the questions from an avatar of you, but multiplied over 10, 100, 1,000 people. So you learn how to operate in this world as a master craftsman in response to all of their challenges simultaneously. So yeah, right away. I love it. I think it's the greatest way to really increase your game, whatever it is, real estate, parenting, relationships, fitness, whatever.
What's really fascinating is, so I just retired from the Marine Corps after 20 years, and
thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Kind of the interesting part is how it's set up. So in the military, you really never do the same thing twice. You do like a 2 to 4 year stretch at something, and then they move you on to something else. So they call it being operational and being in supporting establishment. So what typically happens, you come in, you execute the thing. It could be a myriad of things. Like in our industry, it's real estate. And then after 3 or 4 years, they send you to a supporting establishment because you've become an expert. And then you become an instructor most of the time.
Beautiful. Right.
So then you go back and you go, now I'm an expert at doing the thing. So now it is my responsibility to teach the next wave of people to do the thing. And then you level up and then you go back to and then because you've taught, you've now become an even more of an expert.
Right.
And then you level up and they expand you into something new in an operational role again, which you become an expert at. And then the next thing you do is go back to a supporting establishment and typically give back from a coaching perspective. It almost is, it's cyclic. It's literally designed that way in the military.
Right.
And we kind of poo-poo it a little bit. Like the coaches kind of get a bad rap of like, oh, you're just making all your money coaching and you don't even do anymore. And that could be true or false. But here's the reality, in my personal opinion, Tom, is people grow and that's okay.
Yes.
Like, you may not be on the phones hustling a wholesale deal anymore. You might be buying apartments today, but you're still an expert at what had happened. Now, can you become dated and irrelevant? Most certainly, you definitely can. And that's, I think, where the rub is. Okay, I have like 4 questions for you because you open the door to so many things.
Yeah, let's hear it.
But I want to specifically kind of go down this route of marketing math. Information marketers, coaches. So let's say you do coach. Let's say you're very successful. You're doing 400 deals a year and you start telling people about it and they're like, I'll pay you to coach me. And you're like, okay, sure. Like, I don't know what that looks like, but I'll do it. And then you start doing it and you have success. You build a big coaching program. Well, then it becomes a monster oftentimes.
Right.
And now you have a real business and you have to acquire customers to feed the monster. And then you have to build a front end marketing machine. And this is where marketing math, I think, gets people. This is why the imposter syndrome sets in, because now we start doing marketing math. So as an example, you might have a coach, really successful real estate investor. They were doing 400 deals a year and they started a coaching business. And in their 400 deal a year real estate business, maybe they were doing like 6 to 8 or 9 million top line because it is kind of limited. And in their coaching business in year 2, they're doing like 12 million, right? And oh, by the way, they don't have half of the headaches. They have different headaches, but not half of them.
Right.
But they're no longer, they then lose the room to do 400 deals a year. Maybe they're keeping the real estate business alive to stay relevant, but then they're still out there marketing 400, 500 deals a year. And that's just not true. So I feel like there's pressure on the coaches to do that, which then creates the imposter syndrome. What do you tell those coaches when they come to you?
Yeah. So for instance, let's just say I have a client who comes in with a coaching business at 5 million and they want to build it to exit or they want to build it to scale it. There's so much to unpack with what you just said, right? But I'll give you kind of the 50,000 foot view and then we could dig in if you want. But there's essentially 3 different ways to grow, right? Or scale. A lot of people throw these terms around: grow, scale. What does it really mean? Because they all have different definitions of it. And what I would say is the number one way to look at a coaching business, once you start to get to, let's just say, $50,000 a month in revenue, something like that. There are 3 ways to grow it. You can grow it where this is like a Bo Burlingham, Small Giants, right? If you guys know the book, Small Giants, it's kind of I want to say like a keep it small, keep it all type of growth. This is where you're kind of the man or you're the woman, right? And you're front of the house, you're out on the stage, right? With the whole right? You're like the dancing, juggling bear. And you kind of, you'll keep a very high margin. It's a small group. You can create millions and it's not really sellable. You can certainly sell. You can't really sell the business that way. Not always true, but you can certainly sell assets, right? Like your promotion income, your referral income, your list, your email list, things like that. That's kind of like the first way that is most common. Then you have a second way to do it, which is a platform company. What's a platform company? A platform company, if you look at the largest exits in our space, in most spaces, a platform company is a place, a venue. It's where people go to meet. It's the grocery store, right? You bake bread, I buy bread. We do that exchange at the grocery store, right? It's Match.com. It's Uber, right? You have a car, I need a ride. It's Airbnb. You have a house, I need a place to stay. So in our space, you can see different examples of companies that say, okay, let's expand our definition of what this coaching business is. Let's bring people who need coaching and people who do coach together on a platform. Then you have, and these people were my mentors, you have what's called a publishing or a broadcasting model for business, for coaching. This answers your question because this is a question really of how do you stay relevant as a coach as far as your techniques and marketing procedures and things like that. What you do there is you, as a broadcasting or a publishing company, what you do is you build a basically marketing company. So for instance, in this particular example, you would say, okay, let's become a marketing company to find people who are interested in this topic. And then let's provide those services with other people, right? So now you have coaches who work in that system and you can have typically with that. For instance, if you look at some of the larger companies, you'll see that the avatar is the same, right? And this is true in all spaces, right? So you'll see, actually, you could kind of watch Dave Ramsey's doing this right now. He's kind of like going to the back of the stage. He put up one guy, didn't really work out. Now he has two people up there. One of them is also his daughter, right? So he's becoming like a publishing brand or a broadcasting corporation. But essentially what you're doing is you're building an audience. You are like the Hallmark Channel or Harpo Studios with Oprah, right? And then you just buy channels that are broadcasting a message that everybody in that audience likes, right? So if you think of like Agora Financial, for instance, right? Buy gold, IRA accounts, the dollar is going to crash, be your own bank, infinite banking strategies, right? Robert Kiyosaki, Peter Schiff, the guy from London Real. So essentially those are the three ways to grow it. In all three of those, out of all those three models, the latter two will always stay the most relevant as far as tactics, because their coaches that they're bringing in, the influences they're bringing in are always providing the latest and greatest, even for myself personally, right? So some of the people at Agora, when I was able to get to know Robert Kiyosaki a little, and I spent some time in Arizona with him, and we were doing some stuff, and I got to meet some people through him from Agora. I never got to meet Bill Bonner, although I wish I would have, but I never even saw him. But they gave me a lot of good advice, and I didn't even pay them. They were just very friendly, and especially some of the production people. And they said, well, what you really have to do is it's a broadcasting model, so you've got to go in and find people. For ourselves at that time with Wholesaling Inc., I was into direct mail. I was like, it's direct mail. I don't want to hear nothing about nothing. I've done hundreds of deals. I know how it works. I know the exact message, the color, the font, the size, the time of day, the list, right? The Tom Krol list. But when I started to move that new model, Brent Daniels came in and he was like, hey, Tom, it's not direct mail. It's cold calling. And, Lauren Hardy was like, it's not local, it's virtual. And Chris Arnold was like, it's not direct mail, it's radio. And then, Brent Bowers was like, it's not houses, it's land. But that's how we grew. And I had to kind of have that knocked into me from Agora, because that was like a whole different perspective. The first time I went to go sell Wholesaling Inc., the broker literally laughed me out of the room. This was years ago, but he got up from the meeting. He was an older guy, and I was there with one team member from a long time ago, and he got up legitimately middle of me talking, put his hands on my shoulder, said, son, you don't have a business, you have a job. And he walked out of the room. That is a true story. So I'm appreciative that I learned those models, but I think that those last two, they stay relevant because the people coming in are actively engaged and they're kind of moving into coaching.
Yeah, there's certainly a difference. Like obviously you're the coach's coach because you've sold a coaching business and you've worked with so many different coaches internally because you had that cool model where you brought in Chris, you brought in Brent, you brought in Lauren, and you put them on a platform to give them a platform under your umbrella, which obviously gave you exposure to like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. Like people, these are all kind of the same people just looking for a different vehicle. I think that's really obviously, brilliant on your part. I'm sure you figured that out as you explained. It's not like some big master plan you had, but that's cool. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I had little to do with it. I mean, that was some of the production people actually over at Agora, which was awesome to have that resource, through Robert at that time. But it's funny looking back on it now. It's funny. I don't normally think about this, but it's funny, Adam, because like even thinking back, it's like a lot of the success I had to break from 1 to 30 in all those years. Everything was wrong. It's not so much that everything was just serendipitous. I just started following a different set of rules. That's really what happened. That's really the most like raw thing that I can tell you was that it was just a 1% shift of like from here to 1%, and then everything just lined up. And that was really the biggest difference for me personally, was that I was just going by the wrong operating system. I just didn't know. And not only was I had the wrong operating system, but I believed in it, right? Like I defended it. I was really married to that wrong system. And then when I was able to break down, everything just happened. It's so much less effort. It's like a breathing exercise. I mean, I'm not into yoga or anything, but it's just like you could just put your shoulders down and, it's just when you just follow these old rules, things just tend to fall into place a lot easier.
What's really, man, I can relate, but I'm like way behind you, obviously,
No.
just in general of
No, not at all.
well, from a experience and exposure perspective,
Well,
I've
that's
had,
smart.
like I said, I've got shortcutted by many coaches and being able to talk to guys like you and stuff like that. But like sometimes we're playing. This is maybe the most dangerous place to be, and this is what I hear when you say that. I was playing a game and winning, but I was playing the wrong game.
Yes. Well, I was playing, I think it was maybe the same game for me, but I was playing by a different set of rules. So right. So my definition of winning was different back then than
Right.
it is now. That is for brother.
And you're winning. So you're like, what are you talking about? This is the best thing since sliced bread. This is how it works. And this is working. And then all of a sudden you get exposed to like, yeah, but if you just did it this way, you would get X. And you're like, oh, that's a little different of a game. That's a little different set of rules.
I would say to you too, I think that it would be important in this part of the conversation, right? To say, how do you, because we throw these words around. Oh, I find this is so true all the time, right? What does the word success mean? And what does the word wealth mean, right? So for me, what I have come to for myself personally, for all of my clients is this: success is an internal comparison to my ideal, right? So you're not more successful than me. I'm not more successful than you. We're on a journey. It has nothing to do with each other. Wealth is a 180-degree difference. Wealth is an external comparison to others. So on this call right now, either you have more money than I do, or I have more than you do. You have more health than I do, or I have more than you do. You have more transportation, mobility, network. Wealth literally means a wealthy person has more options and better options than a less wealthy person. So I think that where there's confusion is we are too quick to combine success and wealth. Success, no matter what your version is and what my version is, it just means a good night's sleep, right? And I think that when you start to become more successful, you just experience whatever your definition is, it's some variation of a good night's sleep, right? And I think that that's really the magic in this, is that you're as you are moving from amateur or rookie or beginner to professional, where you're so pointed in and then you begin to be pointed out. I think what happens is that it's easier with less effort. People say work harder, not work smarter, not harder. I think that's the evolution is that it's that moving from an understanding of how success and wealth are different, a recognition of that, and then doing the things. And that's why I think it's almost, when people take a step back or they hit rock bottom, you actually will find it's easy. I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's not as much sweat equity. Things just kind of tend to align, if that all makes sense. I'm kind of being...
Yeah, the path becomes clearer because is like you're bottomed out. You have no choice but to accomplish whatever your definition of success is. That could be buying your next meal, or that could be building a $10 million business, $30 million business. Could be whatever you define, to your point. Hey, you opened the door for me to go back to one of the questions I'd written down, because I'm a firm believer in net worth. So
yes,
as a military guy, I joined in 2004. I was enlisted E1. I was making I think less than 20 grand a year in the get. Okay. And then as you go in the military, it's hierarchical and it's kind of time based. You level up from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And it wasn't until I got to, 8 or 9 years into the military that I started to be cognizant of finances. Maybe 4 years in. 2008, I had to listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad on a transportation from one side of the country to the other. And then I discovered Dave Ramsey. And my wife and I had literally enveloped cash.
Yeah.
To do the envelope system. So Tom.
I know it.
Because that is a concrete methodology. It's kind of ridiculous, but it trains you to create good habit. And then as I continued to do well in the service, and I got up to making 70 grand a year, and then 90 grand a year, and then six figures. And then, I in my career this year, bringing, this is all public knowledge. So I think I was my income was like 100 and I don't know, 30 or 40 grand a year, which is, not bad. That's a decent living. But just maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I got to the point where my wife and I were literally saving 40 to 50% of our income.
Bam.
And that was the difference. So like before I got crazy and bonkers into real estate and I found this like great vehicle for a myriad of reasons, we first got our financial health in order, which meant, not carrying debt. It meant having a high savings rate and then having a plan and path forward, right? Before we could use the advanced tools in wealth building, we needed to master the fundamentals. And we did that. And then I found real estate. And because I went in that order, I was able to go really fast. People are like, I don't know how you did it so fast or how you're doing so much so fast. Like I'm fundamentally financially sound in the decisions I'm making. And I talk to our community, especially a lot of the flippers and wholesalers, like this game is so simple. It's not just increased income and active income. That is a big component, but it is also taking that active income and making smart decisions with it. And that typically means putting it into assets, which for us, a lot of us, that is real estate. It could be commercial, multifamily. It could just be buying houses, a lot of different things. Could be the stock market. I have money in the stock market too.
Oh yeah.
And that's the component I feel like our industry has like just fundamentally lacks that basic understanding, like active income increase, expense decrease, invest the gap into assets. It hasn't changed in forever. That's always been the game. And you measure that through your net worth, right? Like, is your net worth growing? Is it stagnant? And I actually found, Tom, and I follow you and you like put this stuff out. I'm like, dang, I need to look at my net worth. Tom just said, look at your net worth. I like went back and like in a high active income growth time for me, I realized like, man, my net worth, that actually didn't grow my net worth that much, but this did.
Right.
So maybe I need to be doing more of this. And I think just, and there's a question at the end here, but I'm kind of monologuing a little bit because I'm so excited about it.
I love it. Go ahead. It's my favorite topic.
If you track something, it will grow. There's no doubt about it. We know that to be true from being business leaders. Tracking your net worth is probably one of the most important things you can do. And once I saw a post from you maybe a year ago, I was like, dang, I need to look at that again. And oh, by the way, because I buy commercial assets, like I also have to do personal financial statement and give it to the banks. So it has to be an actual net worth. And you know how that goes.
Yeah.
So that's really important. So my question actually was based on the comment you made where like, somebody will come in and say, I got a $1 zillion net worth. And you're like, it's actually only a $500 million.
Right.
What are the things that you do to vet and validate like a more concrete net worth? What is that? How is it being inflated? I don't want to say inflated. That comes with negative connotation. Maybe it's just misunderstanding of how to actually track it. What is it that gets, hey, this is an accurate net worth? Like, why are you chopping these people down? Like, what are they reporting that maybe isn't the best thing? And how are you helping them to find focus to grow it?
So it's very simple. Right? I have coached thousands of people. I've coached real estate people. I've coached business owners, entrepreneurs. I've coached coaches, obviously right on is my big push now. But let me just say this. This is what I've learned. 90% of them don't look. They don't even look. So the bar for real estate is so low, right? The whole entire pitch for real estate is, I'll teach you how to buy a house without using any of your own cash or credit and that, right? Okay. So the bar is so low to do your first deal and to start making some really serious money so quickly that you just never look, right? Because now they're flush with cash. This is why we see so many real estate investors get in trouble with the IRS, right? Because they don't even understand like, oh, this is not job money. This is entrepreneur money. I've got to pay tax on that money, right? So the real simple kindergarten answer is they just don't look, right? So, and even if they do look, 90% don't look, 5% look. And what they look at is their total gross revenue. So they're like, well, I can afford a car. I could finance a car because I make $1 million, right? Or whatever. I think the big answer is they don't look. Number two is there's a big misunderstanding of terms. You would be surprised, even in your advanced audience, if you just asked a simple question, what is gross profit? They don't know, right? Most people just don't know. So here's what I would say on net worth. Because the bar for real estate is so low, it invites in a lot of people who don't have any kind of financial background like myself, right? Like I didn't know anything about anything. So what do poor people do? What do people who are struggling financially, how do they think? What is their mindset on money? I can afford things based on what I can afford monthly. This is what companies want you to believe, right? I can buy the car because if I make $1,000 a month and the car payment is $500 a month, done. I work hard. I deserve it. I can afford
50% of your income. Don't do it.
Oh, brother. Yeah. No, none of I make clients return cars all the time. That's not even a joke. I have multiple stories where clients are like, I'm like, go back to the lot, send it, go right back. You're not doing that. But wealthy people do things differently. What do? Number one, they make purchasing decisions, cars, boats, jet skis, on two components: cash flow and net worth. I had a question once, one of my favorite questions. He said, well, how much does my net worth have to be to buy a $50,000 car? And I said, I came up with the formula, and I said, well, about $1 million, because it's about 5% of your net worth every 5 years is a good rough number. But that's not how most people do it. Most people are happy to go broke doing it a different way. So what are the other rules that rich people follow? People who struggle financially, they earn money and spend money, earn money, spend money, earn money, spend money. This is their whole cycle.
It's habitual.
Wealthy people earn money, invest a portion of it, buy assets, and the cash that the assets push off, buy the liabilities. It's that simple. It's that you either earn and spend, or you earn and you buy assets, and the cash that the assets kick off. And that's why you always see wealthy people will start off with little things, and then they just explode, right? Because they get things like that. Well, compound interest, the most powerful force in the whole universe, right? So I'll have like a person with $100,000 net worth, and they'll come to me and they'll be talking about infinite banking. And I'm like, what are we talking? What infinite banking? Like,
you're not there.
You're not there, brother. Like, no infinite. And I know I'm going to get ripped to shreds, because I know infinite banking people are like, oh, but here's what I would say, right? Number one, measure your net worth every single week, not every month, right? Especially if it's below 0 or below 100K, measure it every week and do it with your spouse. Your husband or wife should be a part of that journey. It'll strengthen your marriage. I can't turn this monitor can't turn around, but I have a huge whiteboard behind this monitor, and Julie and I decided a long time ago, hey, we want to have a net worth goal, and we wrote it down. And you know what would happen? It's my office is in a private spot, so people who come over can't see it. But like even the kids would be like contributing to it, and grandma would send $100, and we'd be like, let's hit this goal, right? Make it fun and exciting. Julie would be the one who would write it down. It was awesome. Make decisions based on your net worth. Make decisions based on how will this purchase affect my net worth. Every single person who went out in 2008, all of these good guys, hot shots, girls who were powerful, all those like, I'm the boss, they all had a low net worth. If I want to destroy your business, if I just say I'm nefarious and I say I want to come in and destroy your business, how can I destroy it? Very simple. All I got to do is lower your net worth just $1,000 a week. That's it. And eventually, I guarantee you, your business is going to shut down. A dollar doesn't know the difference between your business account and your personal account. So net worth is vital. I teach all of my clients to start measuring it out of the gate. And again, the only reason, it's not that they're inflating the number. The only big difference I would say is your personal house. I only like to count 50% of it. And a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I don't think, your house is not an asset and it's not a liability. It's a shelter fee. So, and if you're going to leverage all of it for an investment,
it's almost like a savings account, I guess.
That's it.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good, Tom. I'll tell you what, in 2008, I was at my first, I have two questions. I know we're pressed for time, but 2008.
You're my only call today, so take it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. In 2008, I re-enlisted. It was my first 4 years in the military. I wasn't making much money, but I re-enlisted, deployed to Iraq, a combat zone.
Okay.
They gave me, this is before I'd looked at the financial health stuff, Dave Ramsey.
Right.
They gave me about $42,000 tax free. And I blew that money, of course, because I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
One of the things I did, this is 2008, by the way, and I'm in California. I bought a 2008 F-150. And gas prices are like $5 a gallon, and I'm making like 35, 40 grand a year.
Right.
Doesn't math, obviously.
Right.
Okay. So over the next 2 years, so 2009, 2010, I start Dave Ramsey, financial independence, retire early, all that kind of craze. And I trade that truck and I go, oh my gosh, this was such a bad decision. This is so dumb. Okay. I trade that truck in and I go out and I buy a Kia Forte.
Yep.
It's 15 grand.
Perfect.
And the financing terms are actually really good. I did finance some of it. I paid it off in 3 years and it was like under $200 a month. It was totally doable based on my income at that time.
Yep.
I drive that car today, Tom. I have a multi-million-dollar net worth. I can't justify, dude. So listen, my wife started an online business and she's going to buy a new she drives a 2013 Lexus RX that's paid off too.
Yep.
That we got on a discount. We bought her for like $25K.
Yeah.
like, we just like would much rather put capital into assets. And even then when that returns to us, we're like, we don't really need cars. But she's buying a car for the first time this year. And she started a business in 2020.
Awesome.
And she's doubled it every year since. And so she's buying a car through her business this year. I'm really proud of her for that. And she's like, you really need a new car. And I was like, I mean, do I need a new car? Do I want a cool car? Sure. But I would rather buy a house. I would rather buy.
And brother, it's not about like, I don't want people to get the wrong impression. It's not that you're cheap or too frugal. It's a mindset that just says wealth is what you don't see. Morgan Housel teaches us this in The Psychology of Money, right? Like every old book, The Millionaire Next Door, The Richest Man in Babylon, like Start Late, Retire Rich, all of these books, they're telling us the ancient principles of money. The one thing I learned even at CG, one of my first things was you are 2 bad decisions away from the gutter. All good men and women who are good stewards of money, they understand that it is good to be focused on capital preservation over speculation. It is good to be have a little bit of paranoia. I can't tell you, people that you and I both know, I know that you know them. They are in their 60s and sometimes even their 70s. And some of them are in their 50s. And they'll say, Tom, help me. I don't know what I did. I moved all this money around. I have got nothing to show for it. And believe me, I have problems, right? But this thing of hyper spending and not really knowing your numbers, it creeps up slowly and then all at once. And it just gets you because you're in the wrong mindset. And yeah, anyway, I mean, I will just share just one thing with your audience on this, which is key for me and my clients. And this is what we do. This is the breakdown. $1 comes in, and a lot of people disagree with this, but I've learned this from the people who have a net worth over 500 million. It's very simple. It's 50, 20, 25, 5. We get grandma sends $100 in the mail. It's 50% into real estate, 20% into cash, 20% into the S&P 500, 5% into physical gold, and 5% into high risk, high speculation, high risk, high reward things like Bitcoin, individual stocks, high risk loans, things like that. But 50, 20, 25, 5 has kept me out of a lot of trouble. It works. It works for my tax purposes. It works. People laugh at me. Oh, Tom, most people make money in the stock market. You shouldn't be in real estate. Okay. Most people make money in real estate, not in the stock market. Okay. Tom, what are you going to do with gold? Just go to the grocery store and buy a loaf of bread? Yeah, I was buying gold when Robert told me to buy gold at $1,200 an ounce. It's now $27. And it's not an investment. It's a hedge. I mean, brother, the old rules are the good rules. Don't listen to the new stuff.
Tom, I think you're an avid reader, which is really powerful. And I know you're a big proponent of that. And I'll just I have 2 questions, 2 last questions for you. One is I'm reading a book right now called, because I'll share with you because people just ask you to share it, called The Middle Passage by James Hollis.
Okay.
It's very much about midlife kind of crisis. They call it the middle passage.
Okay.
I'm about to be 39 years old. It's like good timing for me. But this is like a life transition time for me as I leave the military and I'm full on entrepreneur and all that. It's a great book. Highly recommend it for you and
I'm going to get it
for anybody. But what are you reading today? What's really got you excited that you're reading about that you love today?
Oh, brother, let me tell you, I love books why, right? Because of the rules I follow, right? Rule number 8 is 8 pages a day. I don't care if anybody is listening to this, and this is the only thing. If you said, Tom, of all the people you coach, brother, if you took the top 200 people and you said, what is the one thing that ties them all together? All of them read. If you look at my phone right now, I just got a message right from Brent Daniels, right? What is the message about? We're taking pictures of books, right? I am telling you that, guys, for your audience, brother, if anyone's watching this, I don't care what your teachers told you, that you're a visual learner, you're an audio learner, do not buy it. If you can read street signs, you can commit. And Audible is great, but it doesn't replace reading. Audible is not a replacement for reading. So if you can read street signs, you can read 8 pages a day. And if you read 8 pages a day, you'll read books and books and books and books, because sometimes you'll only read the 8 pages, but then sometimes you'll read like 30 and you won't even realize it. Your recall will get better. Your speed of reading, your understanding, your ability to stay awake and stay focused when you're reading, it all improves with practice. So what am I reading? Sorry, I just love it so much because it's like sitting with the old people who have went before us, all of these good men and women of consequence who came before us. They told us everything that, all right. So what am I reading? So and anybody who wants to see, I have 21 books that every entrepreneur should read. It's at coachinginc.com/21 books. So if anyone wants to read the top 21 books, that's a great resource. And there's nothing for sale. It's just right now. So I had to print this book. So if anybody in your audience wants it, just have them shoot me their email address. But I printed it out. It's called Self-Discipline in 10 Days. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's been phenomenal. Theodore Bryant. So I'm just in the middle of most books I have are books. But oh man, my favorite books here, I'll show you some of them. I mean, they're always right by my side. Oh, the best. Right. Robert wrote in this book for me, right? He gave me his lessons on the quadrant. Oh, wow. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. One of the originals, brother. Glazer with outrageous this book is gold.
What's that one?
It's called Outrageous Advertising by Bill Glazer. Page 292 has all of the top headlines that you can use for whatever you're buying or selling or pitching. Right here, page 26 and page 40. Page 26 of $100 million offers. It's how to make he calls it a grand slam offer. Page 40 is how to niche down 4 times to increase your price. And this is applicable to real estate. It doesn't matter. Oh, classic. E-Myth. Forget all that EOS, that heavy, everyone's looking at EOS and processes and rocks and systems. EOS is great if you're a big company, but if you're just like, hey, I want to make 1 to 3 million a year and kind of have it automated, this is the best book ever written. Like 1,000 man, Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. You work,
yes.
Inspiration goes up. You don't wait for inspiration to show up to work.
I'm going to share just another military correlation here. First off, reading is culture in the military, believe that or not. And we have this saying like leaders are readers.
Yes.
Like you're not going to be a good leader unless you're a good reader. You could be a good reader, not a leader. But of course, in order to be a good leader, you need to be a good reader. Yeah. And if you look at some of our most prolific leaders in the military, take James Mattis. Okay. Former Secretary of Defense, one of the most, he's just like in the Marine Corps, he's like the best general ever. Okay. Right? He'll go down in history as the best general ever. And he donated his library when he retired. He had 4,000 books. He read every single one of them. Phenomenal. He made a decision one time. He's being interviewed in the height of the Iraq War. CNN made a decision to drop a bomb on a building or something of that nature. And this was like a rapidly developing situation. And then boom, they drop in this bomb. And the news anchor tried to kind of like corner him. He's like, how did you why or how did you make that decision so fast? He just kind of paused and he said, it took me 37 years to make that decision. And he was talking about his 37 years of experience and all the books that he had read.
Yes. Yeah.
It does help you gain this like mental experience through the lessons of others when you practice it as a habit. And that's why it's so important for us to read in the military, because we could study wars going back to the beginning of man to really learn the lessons, hopefully only once, or, hopefully you're not learning them when your life is on the line, because that's the stakes of that game that we play. And it's the same in business. Like you can learn these same fundamental lessons. You don't have to go crash and burn. You just have to understand the lessons and apply the principles.
Well, right. And I think that's, there's so much yes, I totally agree. And it's interesting because you're not going to find a $10 million home without a library, right? So I like the kindergarten stuff, right? The stuff that I can understand. So there's a reason why every $10 million home has a library. There's a reason why, when you read, your brain physically changes. I know it's an organ and not a muscle because I've had that debate once before, but look, if you use it and it physically changes and it builds up and makes new neurons and new neuron connections, rather, that's phenomenal. I was so lost. I had never read. I was like, I get tired when I read. I read Dr. Dolittle in 7th grade. That was like the only book until I was about 30. And then I went to a seminar. And I was so broke, my brother had to pay for me to go. I had no money. He paid the whole way. I couldn't even afford the gas. I was totally broke. And I went to a Sean Terry conference. And at that event, people recommended 2 books. One of them Sean Terry recommended, which was my absolutely favorite book of all time, Rhinoceros Success by Scott Alexander, who I've had speak now at my events and is one of the most phenomenal human beings ever. He's actually, Dave Ramsey makes everyone who joins his corporation read Rhinoceros Success. And Scott is somebody who, now I know, which is, I can't believe, I know so many authors on my wall, you would be blown away. And then the second book that was recommended to me was The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwin Gaines, which was a game changer. So these were the first 2 that I ever read. And it just so happened that these 2, they were immediately implementable, easy to read. They were loaded with specific instruction and things that I can do. But I remember Luis and I met Nazar there, a library from the first time because we were both kind of came up together in Wholesaling Inc. He was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we started hanging out, or, not hanging out, but like doing this stuff. And man, I'm just so, brother, if I could go back to my younger self and, cause when we read, everyone talks about generational wealth. No. It's not how much money you leave your kids. By the time you die, your kids are going to be hopefully in their 40s and 50s. If they haven't made it by then financially, you leaving them money is the worst thing that you could do. Generational wealth. Yeah. This
principles and
watching them.
Yeah. Values.
That's the key.
We have a program for kids called Teenage Tycoon, and a lot of like our mastermind member kids are in this Teenage Tycoon program.
Oh, cool.
And we have a book club in there for them, and we typically bring the author of the book in to talk to the kids. What was really cool was my son, who's 11, in his school, they're reading the 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teens.
Beautiful.
And we had Sean Covey come in and talk to the Teenage Tycoon mastermind group for these kids. And what it really did was make it more real for him. He was like, oh my gosh, Dad, like this guy, this author who talked to us, like now I'm reading this book in school. So now he's like excited about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really impactful. And I agree with you. Like leaving them money is cool, but teaching them principles, how to make money, how money works, how to make impact, like that is way more than the leaving them money. Like you're teaching them things that will last forever and nobody can take from them.
Well, that's the thing. Generational wealth is about character. It's about content. It's about ability. It's about, you want to build generational wealth. Take your kids this Saturday to a garage sale, have them negotiate a toy half off, and then have them put it on eBay. That's generational wealth, not leaving them, $1 million. That's the worst thing you could do. If your kids are waiting for you to die, I mean, yeah. So yeah. I think a lot of people get generational wealth wrong, especially as they start to get introduced to money through real estate investing. They get all twisted about what it actually means.
That's super cool, man. Well, I'm super great. Maybe we'll have you come talk to our kids in the community.
Bam! Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Well, hey, Tom, thank you so much for you being so generous with your time today. You are one of the most generous people, and you're constantly pouring into people. You put out great, real stuff that matters, and I'm just grateful that I've got to be around you a little bit recently, and I'm glad. I'm glad that you're making an impact in the world, man. I'm appreciative.
Brother, we'll see you in March in family, and we'll have a great adventure. We hardly ever get this. Last time we were together, there were so many people at the table, I couldn't even say hello to you. So it was, we'll definitely get to spend some time together, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it.
Thank you, brother. Enjoy.
Don't forget to get that workout in either.
Yeah.
Do that.
After lunch.
All right, brother. All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, God bless, brother. Bye.